Hi everyone, Natalie here and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be discussing probably the most fermented item, food item known to man, and that is of course sauerkraut. Now every beginner fermenter will be asking about sauerkraut, and it is a fairly easy ferment. It's really a good way to start, but I do want to say one thing. If you are not a very big fan of cabbage, then maybe consider trying something else, because most of the people I know who try sauerkraut for the first time don't enjoy it just because they don't like cabbage. But if you are a big lover of cabbage like I am, I absolutely love the stuff. I love it fresh, I love it cooked, I love it fermented. Then go ahead and do this. My recipe is very easy. I'm going to give it to you shortly, but this is a really easy place to start, and it is the one ferment that you can really make your own and do it your own way, in your own style. So do it a few times and figure it out for yourself. My recipe is, I took half a cabbage and I chopped it up really fine, and I put it in a big bowl. I have a big bowl, and I put 3 tablespoons of salt, and I mixed up really well. And if you do sauerkraut properly and you're just doing a basic sauerkraut, all you need is 2 ingredients, and that is the cabbage and the salt, and that is it. And then I put it into my container. I press it down with a wooden spoon to make sure it's in really packed tightly, and then I put 1 big cabbage leaf on top. That's to prevent anything from floating to the top, and then I put a fermentation weight on that. And that is it. There's no need to add brine. If you are doing your sauerkraut properly, it's going to create its own brine. If your cabbage is fresh enough, it is full of water. And just by putting the salt in, it's going to draw all of that water out. So my rule of thumb is this. Leave your sauerkraut to stand for at least 12 hours. So I usually make mine in the evening, and then the next morning I come and have a look at it. And if it has not covered itself in its own juices, then add a brine, and only then. But otherwise it should create its own brine, and you should not have to be adding any additional water whatsoever. And that way it will keep the cabbage held down while that happens, so the brine comes up. So what you would do is, say in the next morning, what I do is I then come, I open up my kraut, and again with a sterilized wooden spoon I push it down, and then note those juices will just naturally come up and above the cabbage. And that is all you need. Me personally, my personal touch to my sauerkraut is I like to add cumin seeds in the mix. When you are adding seeds and spices, be very careful that you don't get any floaters. So always make sure you have that 1 big cabbage leaf, and that it manages to hold everything down underneath the leaf and underneath the weight. Because if even 1 seed floats up to the top, it does open itself up for mold to develop before your kraut is ready. So just be mindful of that. And I usually add a good tablespoon of cumin seeds and mix it in, but you can mix it with many spices. Coriander seed is a good one, fennel seed is a good one, a bit of black pepper, whole black pepper corns I recommend. Don't put in ground. Try not to use any ground up spices, because then again it's just going to float right up to the top. That one you won't be able to prevent, and then it'll open up to mold. So whole seeds, absolutely. And that is it. What you do then is you then put a loose lid on, because it is an aerated ferment, so you want that air exchange to happen. I put a cloth over with an elastic band to prevent any dust, debris and insects from getting in, and I leave this to sit on my counter for 2 weeks. I tested this morning. It's 2 weeks old as of today, and it is perfect. The cabbage is crisp and fresh, and it has that sour tang, and of course that's where the whole word sauerkraut comes from. Sauerkraut is German, and it translates to sour cabbage. So it has the perfectest amount of sour tang, and I have achieved the perfect sauerkraut with this morning. It doesn't always have a very sour tang. Sometimes it's mild, sometimes it's more of a salt brine, but as long as your cabbage is crisp, you've done it well. So just keep on going until you find a method that works for you. Some people like to leave their krauts to ferment for a whole month, for 2 months, for 3 months. Again, it's a personal preference, it really is, but once it starts fermenting and it reaches the perfect fermentation, it doesn't really matter. So after 2 weeks now, it's been on my counter for 2 weeks. Now I'm going to put it in the fridge, which will slow down that fermentation process, and I'll eat this over a period of weeks if it manages to last that long. Sauerkraut doesn't last long in my house, and now that this one is ready, I know the clock is ticking for me to make my next batch. And yes, it's that quick and easy. The time preference is your own preference. Like kimchi, you can eat it after a week. Sometimes it's really good to go after a week. I find 2 weeks is my sweet spot before I put it in the fridge. But you might want to wait a month, 2 months, 3 months until you find that perfect ferment. And then once you're happy with it, pop it in the fridge and eat it as you would. And stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed that recipe, but stay tuned. So I'm going to be sharing with you in an upcoming post on how to make my favorite sauerkraut sandwich spread.